The speaking section. Everyone's favorite section of the test, right? No? Well, we're going to do it today anyway. This test, the speaking section, was designed by the TST Prep team to match the exact level of difficulty and types of questions that you'll see on the test. Down in the description below, you will see a link to the complete test. I strongly encourage that you download it because you will not only get the test questions in the PDF, but you will also get to hear sample answers and the transcripts to those answers as well. So very valuable down below. My name is Josh MacPherson. I am the head instructor at TST Prep, and our mission is simple: to help you get the TOEFL score you need as quickly and easily as possible. And now, it's time to start. Let's do the speaking section. Directions. You will now be asked a question about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to plan your response and 45 seconds to speak. Your local government has decided to improve their community. Do you think they should build a public park, build a public library, or build a public pool? Provide reasons and examples to support your choice. You have 15 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin preparing now. You now have 45 seconds to speak. You may begin speaking now. Directions. You will now be asked a question about a familiar topic. After you hear the question, you will have 15 seconds to plan your response and 45 seconds to speak. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Video games offer benefits to children. Provide reasons and examples to support your stance. You have 15 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin preparing now. You now have 45 seconds to speak. You may begin speaking now. Directions. You will now read a short passage and then listen to a conversation about the same topic. You will then be asked a question about the passages. After you hear the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. You have 45 seconds to read the passage below. You may begin reading now. Now listen to a conversation about the same topic.
Hi, Peter. Did you hear they're going to make 2 graduation ceremonies this year?
Yeah, they say it's due to enrollment numbers. Too many students getting their diplomas at once makes the ceremony last for hours.
I really don't like that. What if some of my friends are assigned to a different ceremony than mine? We've been waiting for this day for years, and now what?
Well, have you ever sat through the graduation ceremony? I went last year and it lasted almost 3 hours. And it took almost an hour to just read the names.
That's my point. Almost 2 hours of the ceremony consists of speeches. That's the real boring part. Why don't they limit the number of speakers? They could reduce the time of the ceremony over an hour if they just focused on the important people.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But what about the auditorium? Each student is only allowed 2 invitations to the ceremony. But if they separate the events, then you can bring more of your family and friends. Don't you want more people to come?
So why don't they just have the ceremony outside? Most universities have their graduation ceremonies outside. They're always in June when the weather is warm and it hardly ever rains. And of course, there's plenty of space on the Great Lawn and the Quad. I don't know about you, but I would much rather graduate outside in the sun than in a stuffy auditorium.
Now, answer the question. The woman expresses her opinion on the change to the graduation ceremony. State her opinion and explain the reason she gives for holding that opinion. You have 30 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin preparing now. You now have 60 seconds to speak. You may begin speaking now. Directions. You will now read a short passage and then listen to a lecture on the same topic. You will then be asked a question about the passages. After you hear the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. You have 45 seconds to read the passage below. You may begin reading now. Now listen to a lecture about this topic in a biology class.
Okay, as I'm sure you gathered from the reading, swarm intelligence is kind of like one big decentralized brain. All of these individual brains come together to create one collective consciousness that everyone shares. These days, this type of intelligence is actually being used in the field of artificial intelligence, but it was originally found in nature and many insects use it to create organized living systems. Take ants, for example. They will work together to find the shortest route to a food source and work together to carry it back to the nest. Now, how do they communicate? Well, the individual ants mark their route with their scent, also known as a pheromone. This scent, left by one individual ant, will be sensed and followed by other members of the colony. And the more ants that follow the same trail, the more pheromones they leave behind. The path turns into a kind of ant superhighway. Other possible routes no longer seem available to the colony since there is no pheromone trail for others to follow. Ants aren't the only insects that use swarm intelligence. Honeybees also utilize collective communication to organize masses of individuals. During adverse weather conditions, a thunderstorm for example, bees may lose their nest and must find a new home. However, it takes time to find an ideal location and build their new home. So, the queen bee will find a branch on a tree and send out pheromones that the worker bees follow. Once they find their queen, the worker bees will collect and press together, forming a kind of giant pine cone that could include up to 10,000 bees, if you can believe it. Now, there would be no way for a single bee to survive such weather if it was working by itself.
Now, answer the question. Using the examples from the lecture, explain the concept of swarm intelligence. You have 30 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin preparing now. You now have 60 seconds to speak. You may begin speaking now. Directions. You will now listen to a conversation on a college campus. You will then be asked to talk about the information in the conversation and to give your opinion about the ideas presented. After you hear the question, you will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. Now listen to a conversation between two students.
Hey, Susie, you're in the tap dancing club, right?
I certainly am.
Well, any idea where you're going to practice now? I heard that they have closed the auditorium all semester. I think they are remodeling.
Oh man, don't remind me. It's been such a nightmare trying to find another space to practice.
You know, I was thinking, why don't you try practicing in the music hall? It's smaller, but similar to the auditorium, and the stage has a wooden floor, so it would be a good place to practice tap dancing.
Yeah, that's a possibility, but the brass band and the entire theater department use that space to practice. I'd be shocked if they had any time slots available for us.
It's worth a shot. It can't hurt to ask the venue manager.
A friend of mine was telling me about a space downtown. ABC Theater, I think it's called. She said I would have to pay for the time, but the school might reimburse the tap dancing squad since they're responsible for finding us another venue to practice.
I don't know, Susie. The school doesn't like to give out money unless they really have to. I would make sure they're willing to pay you back before you book lessons. I would definitely double check with someone first.
Yeah, you're right. The situation has become quite a headache.
Now, answer the question. The speakers discuss two possible solutions to the woman's problem. Describe the problem and the two solutions. Decide which of these solutions you prefer and explain why. You have 20 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin preparing now. You now have 60 seconds to speak. You may begin speaking now. Directions. You will now listen to part of a lecture. You will then be asked a question about it. After you hear the question, you will have 20 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. Now listen to part of a lecture in an archaeology class.
Preservation of archaeological artifacts for future generations is an important task. Although the deterioration of objects and materials is inevitable, proper preservation can make the process much slower. Creating the ideal conditions in museums is extremely important because historical artifacts can be affected by various environmental factors. The most important are temperature and relative humidity. Maintaining a stable temperature in museums and storage centers is critical. The same temperature should be maintained every day, and all night. Actually, a sudden change in temperature is more dangerous than having no climate control at all. Objects made from organic materials like paper, wood, or leather may wither and dry out if exposed to a sudden temperature fluctuation. Most museums maintain a temperature of between 68 and 72 degrees Fahrenheit, and it takes every possible step to ensure there is little to no variation. If, for example, a city loses power, many museums have backup power sources to ensure that their interior temperature remains constant. Relative humidity, which is the amount of moisture in the air, could also have a negative effect on ancient artifacts. In metal objects, a high level of relative humidity could cause the object to corrode or develop mold. In contrast, low humidity could cause paper or leather to turn more brittle and fragile. Ideally, there should be a different level of humidity for different collections, depending on the material of the artifacts in question. Still, most museums set their humidity levels somewhere between 45 to 50%. Throughout most modern museums, sensors have been installed that monitor the amount of humidity in the air. Once the level of humidity changes by over 2%, the system takes action and adjusts its settings.
Now, answer the question. Using points and examples from the talk, describe how museums preserve artifacts. You have 20 seconds to prepare your response. You may begin preparing now. You now have 60 seconds to speak. You may begin speaking now. Ah, you're still here. So, congratulations, you stayed to the end. Woohoo! No, seriously though, congratulations. Sitting through a TOEFL video online is not easy, and it means that you are a motivated student. And you are the exact type of student that keeps us motivated at TST Prep. So thank you for watching, and if you appreciate high quality videos like this one, please visit our website, tstprep.com, where you can find more TOEFL teachers, resources, and tests that are designed to help you get your score as quickly and easily as possible. So, thanks again for watching, guys. Until next time, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.